Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. I'm joined by founder of the People's Party, I believe, maybe co-founder, Nick Brana. Nick, how are you doing today?
Doing well, especially excited to be with you now in the midst of Force the Vote and right after having announced our advisory council. So it's a very exciting time for us at the People's Party.
Well, first of all, I've talked about People's Party numerous times on this show and how much of a fan of it I am and how we all want it to succeed. Not that picking between the lesser of two rapists in November wasn't inspiring, but it's just, and as we watch Joe Biden, just boy, the diversity, the number of different women and people of color that'll be involved in bombing and bailing out Wall Street and taking oil lobby money is just exciting. I mean, it is just exciting, and I'm sure you're excited as I am.
Thrilling. It's just like the pinnacle of human achievement when we can get people of color and marginalized communities to devastate their own communities as opposed to white men.
You see a gleam of hope for the future is what you do. The diversity of the ruling class. Well, I wanted to talk to you today. The main thing is the Force the Vote, the idea that Jimmy Dore and others have come up with. It's actually starting to gain steam. And the vote, I believe, will tell everybody where you're at with it and where it is in general and how people can get involved.
Yeah, for sure. And so as part of our whole philosophy in starting the movement for a People's Party and the People's Party is that, independent parties have this very long and proud history in the United States of coming around when the two-party system becomes dysfunctional and either breaking up that duopoly and replacing one of the two major parties, as happened over the issue of abolition of slavery in the 1850s with the early Republican Party, or forcing one of the major parties to take on their policies in order to avoid that. And so here, we're in the middle of a pandemic, that has just devastated people to a degree that was really kind of unfathomable, even for the United States. 40 million people are at risk of eviction. That's more than 1 out of every 10 Americans. It's unbelievable. 15 million Americans have lost their health care, their insurance. There were 50 million unemployment claims at the height of the pandemic. And yet this country has done, it hadn't done anything since the CARES Act for literally 9 months. It gave people crumbs and then it stepped away. And so the issue of Medicare for all and universal health care is one that is really stands out as being something that is uniquely horrible about this country, even in the midst of everything else. The fact that every other country guarantees healthcare to every man, woman, and child as a human right, and the United States had more than 30 million people who were not covered even before the pandemic, and another 15 million now. And so we're saying now, particularly that the Democrats' incompetence has cost them seats in the House and has left them with just like a razor thin margin. It only takes a few bold progressives to really stand up and force the vote and make Pelosi's vote contingent upon a Medicare for all floor vote. And I want to say that really is that the bar is really at the floor. With that, it's just a vote. It's a vote. It's not even AOC. She previously, this is in January, this past January, so less than a year ago, she was asked, she was doing an interview and she was asked about the Democratic Party. And she says there is no left-wing party in the United States. The Democratic Party is a center-right or a center party. And then when she thought, how can I describe that? Or what can I use as the litmus test of that? She said, we can't even get a floor vote on Medicare for all. That was literally her litmus test over whether there is a left party in the United States. And so now we have it's 4 or 5 days away, one of the best opportunities and moments of leverage to actually meaningfully advance the fight for healthcare as a human right in the United States. But it's going to take the progressives in Congress actually standing up, growing a backbone, and of making demands of Pelosi for their vote.
Yeah, it's I mean, God, we could spend all day quoting all of the things AOC said a year or two ago that she's now going, gee, I don't know. It's too performative. Like, oh yeah. I mean, remember when that guy stood in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square? It was so performative.
Right.
What was the step two? I didn't get it. It's like, yeah, one man made the Chinese army move. He made them move. And as you said, we can't even get a vote. We're not even like, we demand, Medicare for all, by January 4th. We're just wanting just a vote.
Exactly.
and it's so unbelievable to me. But the thing is, in many ways, this has been good because it's really exposing the sort of fake progressives, or as Richard Medhurst calls them, the boutique left, which is just my favorite term. They want to go to brunch. They want to say they're for these things, but they're not going to get their hands dirty. They're not going to fight for anything. They're not going to really do anything. They're just gonna say, yeah, we need these things, but now's not the time. And they love pragmatism. They love pragmatic centrism. Like it's just so great to discuss over brunch. They think they're so wonderful. So how close are we? Because I'm starting to see, a month ago when Jimmy first came up with this, a bunch of people got on his side, which was amazing. And then the people he took criticisms from were, it was like, what? And now it feels like, AOC and the squad, they are paying attention to the fact that their voicemails are full, their email boxes are full, that they got pressured. And when people don't think, oh, I'm just one person. No, they count the number. They count the number of people calling on an issue and emailing on an issue. And they're seeing this as overwhelming. So what are you seeing? And as we get close, the vote is, I think it's Monday, correct?
The vote is actually Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we have as the Movement for a People's Party, we've kind of built out, we decided to take on this fight in a really big way. And so we just announced our advisory council yesterday, have amazing people like Dr. Cornell West, Susan Sarandon, Justin Jackson joining the council, Rose McGowan, Jimmy, so many others. And we've come out in a big way for this. And so we're hosting tomorrow the Force the Vote town hall with Dr. West, Justin Jackson, Jimmy. Hopefully we will have Katie Halper, Bree Joy Gray as well. And we are inviting all of the squad members to join us at the town hall and explain themselves to the movement. Radical concept, actually come. Because one of the things that's most important about this debate that I think is most being exposed is to whom are the progressives in Congress accountable? Right now, they're acting like they're accountable to the party and to the party leadership. So what the hell is the point of having progressives in the Democratic Party if they're just, people who don't take corporate money, if they're just going to listen to and follow the dictates of the people who do take corporate money? So, but like you brought up, we are also going to have direct actions in Washington, D.C. the day before the vote and the day of the vote. That's being planned for the Spirit of Justice Park. Jackson Hinkle is spearheading those as well. There's going to be a lot of us who will be speaking at those. Myself, Bree Joy Gray, Nico House. But like you mentioned, there are cracks that are beginning to show among the House progressives. And I think that we can win this. So, for example, Ilhan Omar has been tweeting about how it only takes a few progressives to really block the Democrats from passing things now that they have such a thin majority and Biden's pulling more people out for the administration, more people in the House, more Democrats. Then we also had Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, who recently went on CNN on Sunday morning, and they said that, in fact, they're not pledging their vote to Nancy Pelosi. They're going to consult with their community. Now, to me, what that means is that they're laying the groundwork for not voting for Pelosi potentially. So there's some very promising signs there. And I think that what we can do now, and I'm hoping that what we can do as the People's Party with our advisory council, bringing so many other people to bear in this fight, is that we can bring a sledgehammer to this dam that is beginning to crack.
This is powerful. So let's just say that these people do withhold their vote on Sunday. What happens? Like, walk us through how this could shake out if it is successful.
So the way it would work, there's been a lot of people saying that it would potentially get Kevin McCarthy elected, who's of course the Republican running. That's false. What the House rules for the speakership rules say is that you have to get a majority of the votes. So you have to get above 50% of the votes cast in order to be speaker. And so what you can do, and what has in fact been done before in history successfully, is that the progressives could simply vote as a block. It would take less than 15 of them, and they could vote for another candidate. They could pick Pramila Jayapal, they could pick AOC, whomever. And then what will happen is that neither Kevin McCarthy or Nancy Pelosi will have the required 50%. And that means that it will go to conference, it will go to another round of balloting, they'll deliberate, and then they'll come back for another round of votes. And this has been done in the past. I believe in 1910, it was done about 8 different times, and it actually dethroned a speaker. And so it can be done. It's been done successfully, and that's what they have the opportunity to do here. And so there is no real risk that a Republican is going to end up being the speaker, unless the Democrats end up voting for a Republican, which who knows? I guess that's always a possibility.
Well, they act like the Republican Party. It wouldn't shock me if they just flat out voted for one. I mean, there's flat out Republicans in Biden's cabinet, so
exactly, it's not that far fetched. But that's how it will play out. And that's, there's utility in doing that. It's in and of itself, because it really highlights the difference between progressives and between the establishment of the party. And it really destroys whatever mandate Nancy Pelosi had left after doing so poorly in the House elections anyways. And so there are so many things to be gained by doing this. And it so outweighs the prospect of what, for example, AOC has been sharing on Twitter that they're doing instead, which is like getting pay-go exemptions and committee assignments, which ironically, days after she said that, she was knocked off the committee assignment. So what's keeping you back now? And probably the greatest irony is that she was knocked off the committee by someone who did threaten to withhold the vote for Nancy Pelosi.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like everything she says, she just keeps contradicting herself. And it is, you bring up such a great point. What's the point of having the squad and progressives in Congress if they're just going to acquiesce to the corporate leadership of the Democratic Party? And this is where us actual progressive voters need to really hold them accountable and threaten to vote them out. I mean, this is the thing that when people get all afraid, the Republicans, like the Tea Party was not afraid of the Republican Party losing seats or anything like that to the Democrats. That was their threat. They said, if you don't do what we want, we'll let the Democratic Party take over. We don't care. And that's how they were able to get so much stuff done. That's how John Boehner got run out. I mean, so this and all right. So that's,
I think there's a difference though between what the progressives are trying to do in forming like a Tea Party of the left, because Bernie was big on that in 2016 as well. Because when the Tea Party was doing it, it was fundamentally not as opposed to corporate interests.
Right.
Whereas when the squad is doing it, it is opposed by Wall Street, it's opposed by Silicon Valley, it's opposed by everyone. And so there's a difference there. And that's why, we believe that we need, in fact, a major new party, because they're never going to permit you to build power inside the Democratic Party as we see. And in fact, when you go into the Democratic Party is a force, as we've seen with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, unfortunately, and others. It's a moderating force. And this has nothing to do with AOC's kind of like, her integrity and her honesty. What it has to do, in fact, with is the systemic pressures and forces. Like, I studied sociology in college, and, when we look at like banking executives, for example, who caused the 2008 recession, who sold subprime mortgages, if we just replace that executive with like someone else, who has like the best of intentions or whatnot, do we have any kind of like, would we really expect that person would suddenly be able to kind of, reorient things like the profit motive and things like maximizing profit. I don't think so. And so we understand, as the left, we understand systemic institutional pressures when it comes to the private sector, but we don't seem to understand those systemic institutional forces when it comes to the public sector. We seem to have this like naive idea that if you just put more honest people into a corrupt party, like, drops of water into like a bucket of sludge, like it's going to transform the bucket of sludge. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, it will if you love pragmatic centrism, one drop at a time, Nick. I don't think you need to be so crazy with your purity tests on the sludge buckets. And at least our sludge bucket is the lesser of two sludge buckets. So I don't know why you're so mad at sludge. Yeah, you bring up a good point.
Unfair to sludge with that comparison.
So before we move on to like specifics of what the future of the People's Party is going to be doing, give everybody one more chance here. What they can do between now and Sunday to help force the vote.
So join us at the Force the Vote town hall tomorrow. Go to forcethevote.org, sign the petition there, join us for the town hall. We're going to live stream it. Jimmy's going to be carrying it. We'll be carrying it as well as the People's Party. And then you can show up. If you're in DC, you can show up for the direct actions that are happening as well. We're sharing that on our social media the day before and the day of the vote. And then you can also, of course, call, email, put as much pressure as you can on your progressive members of Congress to actually force the vote, take a stand on it.
Everybody go to forcethevote.org. I put that website up before. If you haven't already, sign up for that and get involved in a lot of these actions coming up between now and Sunday, January 3rd is when the vote is. And so we need to pressure these politicians to withhold their vote for Nancy Pelosi, to say, we're not voting for Nancy Pelosi unless we get a vote on Medicare for all. It's all we're asking for. That's all we're asking for. People are like, you progressives won't make concessions. No, this is very much a concession. Like the other option is the 40 million people about to lose their homes, burning everything to the ground. So I would say this is actually us being very conciliatory. So I would anyone ruling class folks, I would, within earshot of this, I would pay close attention to how close the guillotines are coming. And this is something you can do to stave that off, just for your own self-preservation. Yeah, everybody do that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.